Welcome to my house. I mean, literally to my house. This is the Undisputed Free Agency Special, and we're about to debate Brady to the Buccaneers.
Wow.
And then Cowboys, and we're even going to get to DeAndre Hopkins and Phillip Rivers and Cam Newton. But first, I must introduce the man who needs no introduction, the Hall of Famer across me. I don't even have to say his name. Welcome to my house.
Thank you.
Right?
This does seem like a FS1 studio,
It
though.
kind of is close, right?
It's close.
I'm not in the Hall of Fame, but it's weird. I've never lost a single debate to this guy across from me, but it could happen tonight. I don't know, because it's my house, and I'm feeling good and gracious, and so I might be kind to you tonight on one of these debates and let you win just one.
This is a road game, but I'm looking at it like a game 7. All the pressure is on the home team, so, hey, I got nothing to lose.
So, Shannon Sharpe and I do agree on one thing and one thing only. We dearly miss doing Undisputed live in studio each weekday morning, 9:30 to noon Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. But we at Fox Sports 1 believe that we should be doing our part to help stop the spread of this virus. So we're here. We're not going to bump fists tonight. We're keeping our social distance.
Yes.
We're about 6 or 7 feet apart.
We are.
So I can't even reach out and sort of grab you by the throat like I usually do on Undisputed. Here we are, and here we go.
Yep.
First question. What was your initial reaction when you just heard a few minutes ago the rampant reports Tom Brady is a Tampa Bay Buc?
You know, Skip, over the last couple of weeks, we have started hearing a groundswell. The Bucs.
I heard a lot, but I kept discounting it.
So did I,
Yep.
because for the most part, it was always the L.A. Chargers. It was 85% of the people actually thought he was going back to the Patriots. So maybe this was a bargaining tool, and maybe some of the teams that were out there that were interested in Tom Brady thought he was going back to the Patriots. But you heard this groundswell, Bucs. Okay, now they didn't pick Jameis. And you heard Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians is very frank, very candid. A reporter asked him a question. Do you believe you can win with another quarterback? He said, well, we won with this one. I definitely believe we can win with another one. That one happened to be Jameis Winston, who was the first quarterback in NFL history in the same season, throw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Skip, this is a little surprising because the Bucs seemingly came out of nowhere after 2 weeks, after all we've heard. But I don't think I'm not surprised that he's out of New England, because the mere fact is that we heard that there was a disagreement. Skip, it's kind of like a couple getting a divorce. When you start hearing there's problems, we shouldn't be surprised that ultimately they end up getting a divorce. It's when you don't hear problems and all of a sudden it comes out of the blue that we're shocked. I'm not shocked by this. Coach Belichick laid out the blueprint about 3 years ago when he wanted to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. And if you look at it, Skip, they never extended Brady's contract. All they did was found a way to give him more money, but keep it at 2 years.
Yep.
And this year.
And more money was only $23 million.
Right, more money. But here's the thing, Skip. What he wanted was a commitment. And we know years equals commitment. They were unwilling to give him that commitment this year.
Yep.
And the writing, I think, became crystal clear to Tom Brady. They don't really want me. And something else stood out to me listening to Mr. Kraft talk. He said Tom Brady came to him. Skip, when they want you, they come to you. You don't have to go to them. And I think that was crystal clear to Tom that, you know what, it's time for me to move in a different direction. Maybe Mr. Kraft wanted him, but not as much as Mr. Kraft is leading on in that statement, because he has veto power over Coach Belichick. Last time he overrid him. And I told you, Skip, I said, Skip, he won this time. Tom won this round. I don't believe he'll win another round with Coach Belichick.
Okay, I cannot tell you how much I disagree with your last statement about Robert Kraft.
Okay.
But I'm going to get to that in a second, because first I'm going to deal with the Buccaneers. When this first hit me between the eyes that it had become reality, all of this wild speculation about Brady to Tampa?
To the Bucs.
I cannot still to this moment wrap my mind around it, because as you know, I'm a huge Brady fan. You're not so much.
Right.
And the prospect of trying to envision in my psyche Tom Brady in red and orange and pewter, that silver pewter color, Tom Brady in a pirate uniform,
Right.
it jars me to my soul because it's like the last uniform I could see Tom Brady finishing his career in.
Correct.
That's number one. But then it hit me, where's the Super Bowl next year?
Tampa.
Tampa. Wouldn't it be just like Tom Brady to say, one reason I'm picking Tampa is because the Super Bowl's in Tampa and I'm going to be playing the first ever home team Super Bowl. That's got to be some attractive factor that might be the cherry on top of this decision. Now let's get to the guts of this decision. They didn't have one Pro Bowl receiver. They had two, right?
Yes.
They had Mike Evans. They had Chris Godwin.
Yes.
They made the Pro Bowl.
Yep.
Tom didn't have anything resembling either one last year in New England. Is that fair to say?
Very fair.
O.J. Howard is a stud.
Yeah.
And he's just coming into his own. Cameron Brate has come into his own.
Yep.
Kid from Harvard.
Yep.
Not a kid anymore. Those are two, let's just say they're you're obviously a Hall of Fame tight end, but they're quality tight ends, right?
Yes.
Tom had the worst collection of tight ends in the league last year, featuring 39-year-old Benjamin Watson in New England, right? So he's looking, saying, okay, I can work with that.
Correct.
I can work with that.
Yes.
Checked it just before we went on air. Pro Football Focus ranked their offensive line pass blocking in Tampa last year as 10th best out of 32. It's decent.
That's not bad.
I don't know it. It's kind of no name to me.
Right.
But I think they protected Jameis, who holds on to the ball a long time. Remember, Bruce Arians likes to hold the ball, 7-step drops.
He wants to push it down the field.
Push it down the field, and that's not something Tom's ever been coached to do in New England.
Get it out of your hand quick.
Okay. Now let's look at the coaches. I'm a big fan of Bruce Arians as an offensive mind. He's worked with star quarterbacks from Peyton to Roethlisberger and now to Brady. I think that's a pretty comfortable fit. I think.
Yes.
The great Tom Moore, who coached Peyton in Indy, he's just a guru. He's 80 years old, but he's an advisor to Bruce Arians.
Right.
So you got those two guys to feed off of.
Right.
And again, Peyton fed off Tom Moore at his height in Indy,
And Tom Moore is known for play action, something Tom Brady is very good at.
Very good at. This is just me. I consider Todd Bowles as good a defensive coordinator as there is in this league. And he did not make a great head coach.
Right.
But when you get him out of that, as we saw at Arizona and then now back at Tampa last year, by the end of the year, they were coming on.
Correct.
Because on the other side of the ball, Shaq Barrett, who they've kept.
They franchised
him. He led the whole league in sacks.
Yep.
And they just brought back
JPP.
JPP, so they've got that. And Devontae David is Levante. He led them in tackles. He's just a stud linebacker, right? Doesn't get a lot of acclaim. So their defense, when I look at the end of the year, they went 4-2 in their last 6 games, and the defense was 10th in yards allowed in the NFL over 6 games. So it was starting to make sense of Todd Bowles, what he's trying to teach.
And considering, Skip, the defense and considering how many times Jameis put them in harm's way. When you throw 30 picks, now we're not even talking about the fumbles. We're talking about just 30 picks. How many times did he put them in harm's way? And when you think about it, you say they were the 10th ranked offensive pass blocking line. Think about how many times they put the ball in the air. So now that's an awful lot that you got to hold up when teams really don't think you're going to be able to run the football. So when you think of the Bucs, with the exception of that one year, the Bucs are synonymous with losing.
Yeah.
The bag, I mean, they went.
That's why I'm having a hard time digesting
They were known as the Buccaneers.
They were.
And when you think about
the Succaneers.
Yes. Yeah. And when you look at the Patriots over the last 20 years, nobody has been in the history of the NFL has won more than them. So he goes from that to this.
Challenge? Ultimate challenge?
Skip, I looked at it, and I'm looking at Tom Brady in that jersey. And it might have looked worse than Johnny Unitas in a Charger uniform, or Joe Namath in a Rams uniform.
I was there. I covered that team.
It seems so. Look, we know he was going somewhere, but I think eventually I thought, you know what? If they don't bring him back, maybe he'll say, you know what? Forget this. I don't want to go in any other uniform. But he says, I want to play, and the Tampa is giving him that opportunity.
Okay, so just as big a shock to me was the news from Jim Trotter, NFL Network, that Tom had said no to the LA Chargers, which I thought from the start, as I kept saying on Undisputed, well, that makes the most ultimate sense.
Correct.
You come to the West Coast, you've had a house here. I think they still do, but I'm not sure.
Right.
They sold one in Brentwood, which is just over
Right,
there,
right.
not too far from us right now.
Correct.
And I thought they're going into the new SoFi Stadium, this billion-dollar marvel,
Right.
which is just a few miles down the 405, that direction. It was perfect. It made great sense that Brady would finish in that powder blue,
Correct.
Chargers,
Yes.
right? And Jim Trotter reports, no, he doesn't want to be on the West Coast. He wants to stay east because of his kids who are New York-based. Now,
Right.
Right?
Right. So I guess that means they're not coming down to Tampa?
Okay, so Tampa is about a 2-hour flight from New York, maybe 2.5.
Yeah, it's 2.5.
Two-ish, somewhere in there, versus 5 hours to the West Coast.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, consider they're going to be flying private, Skip. It's probably 2 hours. It's probably 2 hour
Okay.
flight, considering they're flying private.
two
And you
hours.
don't have to worry about the hustle and bustle. You just pull up, you get on the plane, and you take off.
Okay, so then I look at the division in the fit. Drew Brees just re-upped with
Yes.
obviously the Saints.
Yes.
So that's who you have to deal with.
Yes.
And it's a very good football
Yes.
team and a very good football coach.
Correct.
Falcons, not quite the threat they were, but Matt Ryan is still there.
Right.
And we're going to talk about Cam in a few minutes.
Right.
But Cam looks like he's on the way out.
Yeah.
And they look like they're going to start over maybe with Teddy Bridgewater.
Correct.
And I don't know that they're a big threat.
Mm-hmm.
So is he looking at the avenue out of the NFC South is pretty wide open to
And I
make
think
a
that
run?
that Skip, and I think the AFC got better. Kansas City's not going anywhere. The Ravens loaded up on defense because they felt that's where they got let down. Derrick Henry ran the ball down their throats in the divisional. So they go out and get Calais Campbell. They
Which was
signed
a
Michael.
great move,
yes,
by the
they
way.
signed Michael Brockers.
a pretty good move.
Yes, and they franchise tag Judon.
They did.
So they're like, offensively, we're good. Lamar's not going anywhere. He's only going to get better throwing the football. Where we got let down is our inability to stop the run and get the ball back to Lamar Jackson.
True. So, not that Brady fears anybody, but if he did look at having to deal with Mahomes twice, and what's his nemesis is where you made your
Denver.
claim to fame in Denver, Mile High.
Right.
Brady, it's been his house of horrors. Did he say, gee, I don't want to have to deal with that
Right.
once a year and them twice?
Right.
Maybe. But to me, it was more about fit with coaches, fit with receivers. Their run game, by the way, in Tampa is not great. Peyton Barber's okay.
That's okay.
I don't know if he cares that much about that, but he's got a parade of quality receivers
Right.
to throw to, and I think he's going to be very happy about that.
But I think this makes it difficult for Tom and Antonio Brown to reunite. Now, Bruce Arians did coach Antonio Brown for 2
did.
years.
He
Now,
did.
that's when he was Antonio Brown. He wasn't AB then.
No.
He's AB now, Skip. So it'd be very interesting. Do you really want to bring AB and pair him with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard? How much is enough? Because Skip, it's already, I mean, you got two guys that go into the Pro Bowl. You throw that guy into the mix. AB knows one thing. I'm used to catching 100 balls in a
He
season.
is. No, I got it.
And you're not going to have 3 100 yards receivers on the same team.
But I've told you all along, the icing on top for signing Brady was Antonio has pledged public allegiance to him.
Yes.
And Brady loves him, vice
Right.
versa.
Right.
And they seemed almost like a package deal, but the big X factor is, when is Antonio going to get declared
Correct.
eligible to play again?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Could he miss a whole nother year? Maybe.
Right. It's going to be
4
some
more
time.
games?
Well, at bare minimum, we're thinking about 4 games, maybe even 8.
Look, if anybody could make that work, it would be Tom Brady.
Right.
But if you throw Diva into a mix that was working at a high level because 30 touchdowns is 30 touchdowns.
Right.
It's
right.
a lot of touchdowns.
But it seems, Skip, is that these guys didn't have a problem. One game, one guy might
they
catch for
didn't.
$170, the other guy might catch for 85, but it was never throwing helmets or Gatorade or cups on the sideline.
Yep.
We mentioned I need my catches. They seem to make it work.
Okay. So it didn't work in New England. And
It worked for 20 years.
ultimately. All he did was go to 9 Super Bowls
Right.
in 20 years. That's almost 50%. That's pretty great, right?
That's pretty, very
But
great.
it didn't work in the end.
Right.
And yet my disagreement with you is over how it ended.
Right.
Because I believe Robert Kraft dearly wanted him to stay. And he had said publicly through Dana White, I want him really badly to stay.
Right.
I believe he offered him whatever deal it was to stay. And the reason I take issue with your takeaway is that it sure sounded to me like Brady, and this is what Robert Kraft said, he initiated
Right.
the call to come to my house and talk to me face to face.
Right.
Now, again, Jim Gray was on NFL Network and said Tom went into that meeting undecided.
Right.
I find that hard to believe.
Right.
But his daddy, as you always call Robert Kraft, right?
Right.
Couldn't talk him out of it or
Right.
into it. And it seemed like Brady went there to tell him no.
Skip, I believe it wasn't what he wanted to hear from Mr. Kraft. He wanted the guy that he had the direct contact with on a day-to-day basis to say, I want you back. Coach Belichick, Skip, when Tom Brady says, I want to play the 45, and he was talking about this at 39-40, the only guy that never said anything about that was Coach Belichick. He reiterated 41, 42. I want to play till I'm 45. Even Mr. Kraft says, well, if Tommy says he wants to play, I believe him. Coach Belichick was always, we take it 1 year at a time. He never vouched. He never co-signed. Okay, I'm cool with that. Coach Belichick looks at it. He treats everything kind of like college skill. He knows eventually you're going to get on. No matter how good you are, you're going to graduate. You're not going to be playing football in college for 8, 10 years.
Yep.
Coach Belichick, and that's how he treated. I couldn't grasp. And I asked, I talked to Gronk and I asked him. But he treated Brady not like he was Tom Brady, but he treated him like he was the 46th man on the roster.
Got it.
You get no preferential treatment from me. And Skip, I don't care what anybody says. When you've won as much as Tom Brady has, when you've been as great, it bothers you that I don't get I don't get anything special than the guy that he might dress or he might not dress.
Okay. So I believe Tom Brady decided, I'm going to do it to him before he does it to me.
Right.
And he said, I'm going to be one guy who walks in and says no to him before he pushes me out the back door, because we both agree with the ESPN report of 2 years ago that he was ready to push him out the back. Yeah, Seth Wickersham, that he was ready to go forward to Jimmy Garoppolo, and Kraft slapped him on the wrist and said, nope, you will trade Jimmy G.
But Skip, when you look at it, the writing was on the wall. They picked up Jason McCourty. They re-signed Devin McCourty. They franchise tag. Skip, they don't franchise tag anybody.
No.
They franchise tag Tooney.
They did.
So the writing, they only had $5 million with Brady. Look, even Tom Brady got limits on what he will actually play for. They only had $5 million.
Okay. Did they go get another stud receiver?
No.
Another tight end? No.
So
another offensive lineman?
So what
no.
do they Skip, it's like a building. Okay, if you do upgrades, I might be willing to lease this building from you. Well, I ain't doing no upgrades. Well, you telling me you don't want me to lease the building. When you don't go get me weapons, and we both agree that he needs more help now than he ever has. He's getting older, so he can't carry the weight that he once could.
Well, I still say Patrick Mahomes couldn't have done much better than Tom Brady did with that collection of lack of talent last year.
You might be right, Skip, but Coach Belichick says, you know what? In order to make sure that you leave, I'm not getting anybody.
Okay, so Tom Brady said, look, I've earned the right to go try to do it solo without him.
Yes.
And I'll give you this. Bill Belichick has earned the right to say, okay, watch this.
Right.
So now, as we've talked about for 2 months on Undisputed, it's a race to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And what great theater this is going to be for the NFL, because how fast will Tampa get there? How fast will New England? Or will neither? Well,
here's the thing, Skip. If he goes to the Super Bowl with another team, Peyton Manning has already done that and wins it. Kurt Warner went to it with 2 teams. So we've had guys go with 2 teams.
Yep.
But to go to the Super Bowl that's in your city.
Never been done.
Never been done before. So now I'm going to raise you one. It's not just good enough for me to get to the Super Bowl, possibly win it. I want to do something no one has ever done and probably won't be done again. Forget 6 Super Bowls. We don't think anybody's going to win 6 Super Bowls, Skip, or get to 9. What about this? Go to 9, win 6. And play in a Super Bowl in my hometown. Top that one, Coach Belichick.
Thank you, which is why I give Brady a lot better shot to get to a Super Bowl before Bill Belichick does with Jared Stidham or Andy Dalton or Cam Newton or whoever he might try to throw out there. And by the way, this is a long shot, but if it were Cam Newton that he would acquire, that's the one guy in this league who would not be intimidated by Tom Brady's shadow. I'm just throwing that out because Cam wouldn't be overwhelmed by that.
No.
He's the MVP, he was an MVP in 2015.
Correct.
First pick in the draft. So that's one you could get away with. I would feel sorry. I would pity Jared Stidham if he throws him out there for game one. That's going to be hard.
I don't care who you are, Skip. You don't want to be the man that follows the man. You want to be the man that followed the man that followed the man.
That is correct. And again, I've told you this before. I watched a lot of Jared Stidham at Baylor and at Auburn. When the going got tough, he went deer in headlights and seemed to lose his poise. Now, maybe you can tell me Auburn was a little overmatched in some of those SEC games, but I will give you this. He's athletic, and he's got the basic big arm.
Right.
He's got all that going. We saw it some in the preseason. He also got yanked in a preseason game, too. And you put Brady back in. So I just can't see Bill Belichick trying to live up to Brady in Tampa with Jared Stidham in New England as a second-year player.
Well, unless something unforeseen. I mean, we heard the rumblings about Andy Dalton. The likelihood, I mean, they have Cody Kessler on the roster.
Yep.
But Skip, the likelihood of them going into the season with just Cody Kessler and Jared Stidham, I don't think that's going to be possible.
I would agree. So I'm going to hit this one last time before we leave this alone. I still say the bridge was burned, Brady to Belichick and vice versa, in the Super Bowl against the Eagles when Belichick inexplicably benched a Malcolm Butler who had played the most defensive snaps of anyone on that unit that year, not just DBs, of any defensive player, most snaps, and it remains unexplained why he was benched the whole game. Tom Brady put up 33. He threw for a playoff record 505. He did drop a pass, but it was straight over his head from Amendola, I think it was. And you can argue this and that. He finally lost the ball at the end of the game in a desperate situation. I will give you that. But he did put up a Super Bowl loser's record, 33 points. And that defense of Bill Belichick gave up 41 to a backup quarterback who's now on the outs in Jacksonville, Nick Foles.
Skip, you believe it was that game, but I believe it was the lead up to the game in which Brady got wind that they wanted to go in a different direction. With Jimmy Garoppolo. Imagine how you must feel when you've accomplished so much and the guy that you've done this with, all of a sudden, you're still, because at that point in time, Skip, I thought Brady was still playing at a very high level. And you get wind that the coach wants to move in a different direction. Skip, there's no coming back from that. I mean, he could say, it's business as usual. There's no coming back from that.
I buy that. But it got to the point in the AFC Championship game against Jacksonville at New England. Remember, Brady cut his thumb. I don't know how he cut it. He said he did it on Burkhead's helmet. I don't know. Maybe he fell down the stairs. I have no idea. But he said he got 12 stitches. It had to be 12 because he's number 12. But he got 12 stitches. And remember the derisive, sarcastic comments from his head coach after the game?
He didn't have open heart surgery.
It wasn't exactly open heart surgery. He just scoffed at it.
Because Skip, that was like a week. That was the same week or a week later in which Brady found out that Coach Belichick was forced because he wanted to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. So not only did you want to keep Jimmy, you're demeaning, you're derogatory.
You are. I agree.
No.
And all Brady did with the 12 stitches, maybe they didn't bother him at all, but it is a little harder to grip a football in the cold when you got 12 stitches. All he did was throw for 138 in the fourth quarter, and they were down
24-10.
24, was it that much?
20-10.
20 to 10.
They won 24.
Early in the fourth, it was 20-10. And as you know, they roared back and beat that team, and then here we went, and you know the rest of the story. So the bridge was at least on fire there.
Absolutely.
And remember, then he did right out here in Santa Monica, which is just over there. Brady then came to a conference out here. I know it was a paid gig with Jim Gray as his moderator. And remember what he said to Jim Gray? Do you feel the appropriate gratitude was the question from the Patriots? And Brady said, I plead the fifth. You plead the fifth to that? Really? And then he said, are you generally happy? And Brady said, I have my moments. You have your moments? Really?
And the thing is, Skip, normally when a player and an organization goes sour and the player and the organization is trying to make right by the player, what do they normally do? Give him a contract extension. You see, we want you. Whatever happened, let bygones be bygones. We want you. Tom Brady never got those assurances because maybe Mr. Kraft wanted him, but we know for certain he's gone because Coach Belichick. Skip, if Coach Belichick...
And by the way, to your point, in the end, Robert Kraft, I think, sided with Coach Belichick. I think. in that he wasn't pushing hard enough to keep Tom
Right.
financially, maybe.
Right.
But I also believe it was Tom's decision. I just want to start over. I've earned that right, and I'm good with that.
Oh, you go. All Mr. Kraft had to do was say, Bill, I don't know what your plans are,
yeah, I know.
but you need to set money aside just in case Tom is coming back. So
Okay.
you do what you need to do.
All right, let's heat it up some more. Let's get to our favorite team, because you're a Cowboy closet fan, we know. Dak Prescott, exclusive tag, no surprise,
No.
but how do you interpret? What did it mean? Whose side are you on?
Well, I'm on Dak's side. And Skip, we're heading for a Kirk Cousins situation. They keep betting against themselves because what they're telling us is that we believe Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. That's what Jerry and Steven says. We believe he can win multiple Super Bowls, but you won't give him the extension. Skip, when we look at quarterbacks, and let's just look at Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Skip, they had 2 years left on their deal, and they got the money that they got. Dak is free. They just redid Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins got another $61 million fully guaranteed, Skip.
Great.
After getting 56 the past 2 years.
Yep.
So when you look at it, so Kirk Cousins is going to make what, 100 and something million dollars in 4 years. Dak says, I'm free. And you keep telling me, Skip, I don't look, we can say 33, 35, 37, but I believe it's the fully guaranteed money. Not, Skip, if I'm on the roster at the start of the new year, because we just saw Floyd, the pass rusher from Chicago. Had he been on the roster tomorrow, he gets 13.2 guaranteed.
Yep.
They release him. Fully guaranteed. How much am I, no matter what, the sun comes up or it doesn't come up, we have what we got going on right now, Skip. I'm getting this money. That's what this is about. He's like, I'm not going to play this contract completely out. And guys signed with 2 years left on their deal get that, and you think I'm going to take similar money. He wants somewhere between 75 and 85 million, fully guaranteed. So we can split, Skip, there is no difference between, if you say, okay, Dak, we'll give you 33, 66, 132, 134 for 4 years versus 145 for 4 years. At the end of the day, Skip, how much of that is fully guaranteed? Because they can play with that. Says, okay, another 30 million is guaranteed against injury. No. Dak says, no. I need to know how much at the time of signing am I going to get and how much am I going to fully get guaranteed. That's what I need to know.
Okay. I have arrived at my final conclusion here. For the first time ever, I'm on Jerry Jones' side.
Oh, no, you've been on Jerry's side.
I'm dug in now. Now I have conclusive proof. There hasn't been much bigger Dak Prescott fan than I have been. But I told you this past year, I can't defend some of his play. To your point, and you gave him a lot of F's for some of his empty calorie performances, Green Bay, at Chicago, to name two. I can't defend the fact that they went 8-8. I can't defend that he missed some throws in some of those swing games, especially at Philadelphia when Tavon just broke free.
Right.
That could have tied the game if
Yes,
Will.
we is.
Yep.
We need more. Remember, we got that 17th game in our back pocket now, Skip.
They do?
And we got another playoff game.
Okay.
So Dak knows the money's going to be there. And so Dak and Todd France are trying to negotiate, knowing that the cap is going to go up somewhere between, it went up, I think, 5.5% this year, which was the lowest since 2012.
Yep.
But they're saying in 2 years, 3 years, with that 17th game, the cap's going to go up 15, 30, 40%.
Okay. Look at what he did for Amari. He gave him $100 million. He gave him 20 a year. There's some phony baloney money in there.
Well, he gets 40 million fully guaranteed. The first 2 years he's going to make 40 million.
It's not Julio's deal.
Right.
It's average. Its annual is a little more than Michael Thomas is going to make in New Orleans.
Correct.
But it's up there. You can argue it's either the second highest or the third highest of receivers. Well, you know what I think of Amari?
Right.
He's a home receiver, and he's not a road warrior.
Right.
And I've told you, he made.
Well, that might have something to do with Dak's numbers. Dak said if you'd got that guy to play better for him, I'd have had better numbers. We might have would have run on the road.
You could argue that because he caught 53 balls at home and 27 balls on the road.
Yeah.
And he flat out took himself out of the game at the Jets, and they lost 24 to
Right.
22, and
Right.
you lost your voice in Denver rooting against my Cowboys while you're up in the owner's suite.
I
Am I
did.
right?
Yes.
And then he goes to New England and flat out took himself out of the game because he said Stephon Gilmore is just too good for me. Right?
But you said something very interesting at the beginning. This is where Amari wanted to be because he could have potentially gotten more money going elsewhere. But he says, Skip, if your heart is there, stay. Because you'll forever second guess yourself about, man, I should have stayed with Dak, or I should have stayed in Dallas. He stayed where his heart was.
Okay.
Okay, I got no problem with that. But Dak is like, but plus, Skip, you have to understand, Amari was a top 5 pick. Also, Amari got a $14 million option picked up last year. Dak says, I ain't made $5 million in NFL salary yet, and you want me to give you a discount. Let me get this one big payday first.
Okay, but we had Rob Ryan on the show the
Yes.
other day, longtime NFL defensive coordinator, obviously Buddy's son, Rex's twin brother.
Yep.
Rob said on the show about Amari that it got to the point that he thought Jason Garrett just yanked him out of the Philly game because he's running half-hearted routes.
Right,
This
correct.
is a road
Yes,
game,
yes,
big road game,
yes.
okay? And then Rob said something to me off camera that I don't think he minds me saying on this microphone, Facebook Live. He said, I've only seen one other receiver quit on his team the way Amari did on his at New England. And I said, who is that? And he said, Amari when he was a Raider. So he's saying the only receiver he's ever seen quit on his team during the game.
It's the same guy in 2 different spots.
Okay. So he just got $100 million because Jerry loves him.
Correct.
And he's a good kid. You know, he's a
Right.
decent guy. He doesn't
Right.
have he's the opposite of a diva receiver.
Right.
So he played softball with Jerry and got a great deal.
He did.
You could argue he doesn't deserve that
Yeah.
money, right? Dak is playing hardball and he just got tagged. You're it, right?
Yep.
And I'm with you here. Nothing ever good comes of these tags.
Nope.
It creates distrust. It creates, on one side, you think the team's they're not buying completely in, and they're
Correct.
not.
Nope.
And on the other side, he's thinking, should I trust this man or not? Nah, I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't trust him.
Skip, but Michael, hold on. You remember how we saw Dak lower his shoulders on some of those runs?
Yeah, maybe not.
Now he's like, whoa, wait a minute. I ain't got no guarantee. I ain't secure beyond this year. I better not lower my shoulder this time. I might as well just go ahead and slide and, we're going to punt the ball.
Okay. Do I think, and I don't even know how much off-season activity they're going to be allowed given the
Right.
current state of affairs in this country, but do I think Dak will hold out of those? Do I think he'll, because it's a new coach, new
Right.
system, obviously sort of new system. I don't think he will. I think he'll show
do.
up for those.
I don't, Skip, because
You don't?
that's the only leverage that he has.
Well, the
They-
biggest leverage he has is game number 1.
Right. Well,
That's what
here's the
I'm
fact,
worried
Skip.
about.
They can't. Now they have until July 15th, because if you don't sign a contract before July 15th, doesn't matter what. Or we gonna work. No, you're not. You're gonna have to wait until after the season. So the only leverage that he has is like, I'm not coming to OTAs. I'm not coming to mini camps, and there's a possibility I might miss training camp. Well, Skip, they got the Hall of Fame game, so they're gonna report early.
Right.
Remember, it's the Steelers and the
It is,
Cowboys
yeah.
in the Hall of Fame game.
If in fact
They have
we
a Hall
get
of
to
Fame,
that
right?
point. Yep.
So the only leverage Dak has now is the threat of holding out OTAs in minicamp, and that's because you got a new coach. Skip. He's like,
I just think he has too much character for that.
No,
I think he loves his team too much for that.
he's like, I do love my team, but Jerry doesn't love me.
You know? What I'm worried about is the Le'Veon, I'm not going to play games. That could happen.
Yeah.
That wouldn't shock me.
Mike McCarthy did not come for this, Skip.
He did not
Mike,
come for
they
this.
told. I can assure you, Skip. They assured Mike McCarthy that they were going to have Dak Prescott under contract.
Yeah.
They were going to have Amari
That's
Cooper
true. I'll buy
under
that.
contract.
You like to see Cooper Rush start the opener?
They're not winning. They're not going anywhere
Yeah.
with Cooper Rush.
Okay, so now I'm going to hand you a softball, toss you a softball. It feels like mass Cowboy exodus with free agents. They're losing them right and left.
Yeah.
Byron Jones goes to Miami. We knew that was coming for top corner money. He doesn't deserve it, but he got it.
He got $40 million fully guaranteed the first 2 years.
Randall Cobb went to that disaster that is now the Texans, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But they were so desperate, they gave him $9 million a year for 3 years after he made $5 million for 1 year last year as the slot receiver in Dallas, right?
Yep.
Okay, so there's a big loss. Now we start going down the ladder to
Robert
Quinn, who got $70 million for 5 years in Chicago.
After making $8 for 1 year, he gets $30 million fully guaranteed of the first 2 years.
And I've always told you, I like Jeff Heath, but I never could love him. He's now an Oakland Raider. Malik Collins was not bad as kind of a anchor of the defensive line. He's now an Oakland Raider. I could probably go on.
Jason Witten.
Jason Witten. I don't count him
You don't
really.
miss, oh, man, come on. You don't miss Jason.
Look, I love Jason Witten, and I thank him for all he did on and off the field for the Dallas Cowboys for these many years.
Right.
But I'm not sorry he's gone, because in the end, last year, all I could see him as was good locker room presence, a good blocker, and now for Las Vegas, he's just box office.
Right.
You can sell
He's
the fact that you have Jason Witten, but after that, I don't want to see 3-yard catches in a cloud of dust.
Well, Skip, once they gave Blake Jarwin what they gave him, I think the writing was very clear.
They did keep Blake Jarwin.
Yes.
And I told you, and remember the Dak line is he might be the best athlete on this team.
Skip, they gave him $24 million for 4 years.
Yep, that'll work.
So they're saying
Deserved.
Right. The Cowboys lost a lot of depth.
Yep.
Robert Quinn was the leading sacker. Now, Chicago did what they did, but I'll be leery of Robert Quinn because he's different on turf than grass.
Yep.
Look at what
That's
he
a
was
good
in
point.
St. Louis.
Yep.
In the dome. Look at what he was with the Cowboys in the dome.
Yep.
Look at what he was when he was out here in L.A. on grass. Look at what he was in Miami on grass.
Okay.
But Skip, they're gonna have to do something because Dak is growing very distrustful because he keeps hearing you say one thing, Jerry and Steven, but your actions is not, your rhetoric is not matching up with your actions because your action is like, nah, we still need to see more. And franchise tags makes players resentful because they said Dak hasn't missed a start, missed only a handful of practice with that shoulder. And he says, what do I have to do? And Skip, and he just saw Ryan Tannehill for 8 starts. 8 starts get $60 million. Fully guaranteed. He's like, you mean to tell me Ryan Tannehill for 8 starts can get $61 million and y'all haggling me? Oh, I wish I might sign.
Okay, I'm saying good luck to Tennessee because we started seeing Ryan Tannehill revert to Ryan Tannehill in the playoffs.
Well, when they asked him to throw for more than 100 yards, he wasn't able to do it against Kansas City. As long as Derrick Henry could run over people.
And I know there was a report 3 days ago, Tennessee is out on Brady. I will bet you Brady was out on Tennessee. I will bet you that Vrabel tried to talk him into Tennessee. And I told you from the start, I couldn't see Tom and Giselle in Nashville. I love Nashville because I want to.
Well, hell, Tampa ain't much better.
The weather's better.
That's it. Trust me, there's more going on in Nashville than there is in Tampa, Skip.
Maybe it's the Vrabel. Maybe he sees Vrabel as a chip off the Belichick block, and he didn't want to get into that same sort of dynamic of clashing with the defensive side of the ball.
Well, if you think about it, Skip, look at some of the things that Vrabel did in that playoff game.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that Coach Belichick would do to other coaches, he did to him.
He did.
And remember, he traded Vrabel to Kansas City.
He did.
So how much is actually love lost between those two?
Okay, so bottom line, you were predicting once again my Cowboys will not make the playoffs.
Yep,
Do I have that on record on Facebook Live tonight?
Yes.
For 5 cases of Diet Mountain Dew right here, right now. I will take it. I'm writing it down.
You taking
5
it
cases.
5 cases?
I just think they're going to figure it out.
How do you figure it out?
In the end, I'm still pretty sure Dak's going to be a Cowboy next year, and I'm still very sure Amari's going to be a Cowboy. And I think Amari, with a new coach, might try to live up to his $100 million deal, maybe in a road game or two, maybe. And they've just begun on filling all those holes that you just talked about.
They got a lot of holes to fill.
They got a lot of holes to fill.
How much better is that defense going to get? Where's the secondary? That's your weakness. Who y'all going to cover?
I don't know. I can't defend it at this point. But I still love my offense because Michael Gallup was starting to show me top receiver production at the end of the year. And there is still that guy, that 21 back there, and he disappointed me last year. And by the way, my biggest disappointment that we didn't get to do Undisputed this past Friday. His mom was coming on Friday to sit in this chair at our debate desk out in the studio, which is only about half a mile from here.
Correct.
But she was coming in, and she wanted to talk about her baby boy and her issues with me, and I was looking forward to it because we could talk Zeke, clear the air, and maybe we can have her on as soon as we get back in studio, and hopefully that's sooner than later.
Correct.
But I am looking for Zeke to have a big bounce-back year next year. And the offensive line is still – I'm not going to say it's great. I'm not going to say it's better than the Indianapolis Colts offensive line, but there's still a lot of talent across the ball.
But they're a year older, Skip.
They're a year older, but I think they're going to be pretty to very good.
Okay.
So that team with Mike McCarthy, who I still think is a really good play caller, he says Kellen Moore is going to call the plays. I'm not buying it. I still think they will score enough points to win a lot of football games. So I'm hanging in. They will be a playoff team, and I've already bet you officially 5 more cases of Diet Dew.
Oh, you want that, huh?
Yep, I do. You know, I was actually hoping Tom Brady, for the record, I'm taking a quick left turn. I was hoping Tom would come out here because then he could be the new king of L.A. if he were a Charger. And guess who?
Nah.
Kawhi would have to take a back seat because we know that Kawhi was the king of L.A.
Nah, Kawhi had his opportunity on that Sunday. We saw that.
That's 1 out of 3. So Kawhi's 2-1 against LeBron.
Hey.
So he had officially become the king of L.A. Right?
Kawhi didn't make it look like this. He didn't make it look like old Goat James.
I miss Kawhi, man.
No, I miss.
He's getting shots up right now. I can just feel it. I can hear the.
He ain't doing
can you hear the bounce?
All I know, I don't know what he's getting up because he's not on social media. But I did see the other guy at the complex getting shots up.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, I hope he's getting free throws up because he's now fallen back under 70%.
Don't worry about the free throws.
100 a day during this offseason.
When you shoot logo threes, who needs free throws? When you making logo threes?
Huh?
When you making logo threes, who need free throws?
He's a 35% three-point shooter.
Good enough.
It's not good enough.
Better than Kawhi.
High volume, he ranked like 43rd in the league. You like that?
I love it.
Better. He's not better than Kawhi from 3. Kawhi's dead-eye from 3. And Kawhi, 90% from the free throw line.
Okay.
I think it's over.
No.
I hope they come back soon enough that they could have at least a playoff run sometime in late May, June.
No, they're going to have a late playoff run sometime in late July, August.
I hope so. Okay, quickly, let's move a little south from Dallas to Houston. Maybe the biggest wow, the biggest cringeworthy shock was the trade that Bill O'Brien made to Arizona, sending DeAndre Hopkins. Wait a second. He went to Arizona and wait a second. Arizona got out from under David Johnson's contract, which was outrageously overpaid.
Crazy.
Yeah, because he's been obviously ineffective and hurt for 2 years.
Yep.
Wait, you took on his contract. You gave us DeAndre, who's still, I'll say top 5. I think he's top 3 receiver.
Yeah, he's top 3, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Julio, Michael Thomas, DeAndre. I mean, we can debate that another time, but he's a top 3 receiver, absolutely.
Houston did get a second-round pick, but then they had to throw in a weird fourth-rounder back to Arizona, and all of a sudden, Kyler Murray has DeAndre, and he's still got Larry Fitz. I know he's nearing the end.
They signed Christian Kirk. Which tells you, Skip, they're probably going in a different direction in the draft, probably going to go offensive line. You better protect him.
They're a bunch of studs.
Yeah.
At number, what are they, 8?
Yeah.
There's going to be a stud offensive lineman.
Yes.
I would love to see them take CeeDee Lamb, but it's like an embarrassment of riches. Yeah. I don't know if there's only one football.
It don't do you any good if you throw it from your back, Skip. You better get somebody to protect your young quarterback.
Probably. But how shocked were you that Bill O'Brien made that deal?
I was shocked. Skip, I believe if you look at – and I think Bill O'Brien is a good coach. I don't think he's great. But him as a general manager, this is what he's done. He traded away Jadeveon Clowney and didn't get a first-round pick. He traded away D-Hop and didn't get a first-round pick.
Nope.
Let that sink in. Now, the Minnesota Vikings got a first-round pick for Stephon Diggs. Name the GM that says Stephon Diggs is better than DeAndre Hopkins. And they got a first-rounder from Buffalo.
They did.
So it just goes
By the way, point out, Bill O'Brien is the general manager.
Yes.
Thank you.
So he's a good head coach, but he's terrible at being a general manager. Skip, he basically gave DeAndre Hopkins away for David Johnson.
He did.
And a second-round pick.
Okay.
Now, you better get one of these receivers and hope they pan out. Now, he has 2 first-round. Because here's the thing, Skip. Okay, you trade for Laramie Tunsil. You give up a first-rounder. But you don't sign him to a long-term extension. Did you see what Jack Conklin got from Cleveland?
I did.
He plays right tackle.
He does.
There's a premium on left tackles. So now you didn't get him under contract.
Yep.
I don't get what he's doing. Now it's reported that DeAndre Hopkins wanted more money because Skip, he see what's coming along. The deal that he signed is obsolete.
Okay.
He's making $13 million a year.
I think they'll redo it. I do.
Yeah, they seem more willing to redo it than the Houston Texans. Why, Skip? Guess what they got? They got Deshaun Watson coming on the pipeline. That's going to be $40 million. Bill O'Brien, now we saw you take on Duke Johnson. We saw you take on Carlos Hyde. Now you got David Johnson. Really? Running backs? Running back trade? I can see if you got, Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith, but you're taking on guys. And you let one of the preeminent receivers in all of football go for a second rounder, and Minnesota got a first rounder for Stephon Diggs. I don't understand what Bill O'Brien is doing, Skip.
I don't either. All I know for sure is I feel sorry for Deshaun Watson. I'm a huge fan. He's nothing but a playmaker.
Right.
Maybe he holds the ball too long and tries to make the play to win the game, but he just lost his security blanket.
Yeah.
The guy he went to when chips were down on the road in
Correct.
some big game.
Yep.
And I am so happy for Kyler Murray. I'm a bigger fan of his than you are. I told you he was going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and he finally, in the end, he won out.
Yep.
I think he's going to make the leap in his second year we saw Lamar and Patrick Mahomes make. And he's going to have the weapons to make that leap, starting with that guy, because that guy's going to change Kyler's life.
Yeah.
And that guy, reportedly, did not love Bill O'Brien. They were clashing more and more behind the scenes. I've been around Bill O'Brien. As long as you're away from football, I like him just fine. He's fun to be around, but I got to tell you, I'm not even as bullish on him as a coach as you are. I think he can get lost as a in-game strategist occasionally. He's always insisted on calling all of his plays. Now he says next year he's going to have somebody else call. We'll see about that.
Right.
I never believe it until I
Well,
see
Skip,
it.
you remember Bill O'Brien's claim to fame was that he clashed with Tom Brady on the sideline. That was his claim to fame, and I think they lost the Super Bowl that he was actually the offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, against the Giants.
They did. Yep.
They lost that Super Bowl. But prior to that, Skip, his claim to fame was that he butted heads. He was yelling face-to-face with Tom Brady.
Because Brady was getting on a receiver who lasted like 3 more games.
Tyquan
and got cut.
Underwood.
That's correct.
But I'm not surprised. But at some point in time, look, I understand you're from the Belichick tree, but you're not Belichick. So you're going to have to be able to communicate and relate to these players.
Yep.
And I think he's like, well, Coach, this is the way Coach Belichick does it. But you're not Coach Belichick. You don't have those kinds of credentials. And so for him, and like I said, Skip, I don't really know D-Hop, but he doesn't. He strikes me as a guy that, he goes about his business. But he ain't going to take a whole lot of stuff.
No, he's going to take a lot of stuff. Totally agree. I still think Arizona's going to be so much better next year, especially if they take a rookie tackle. I could see them making the playoffs. Even in that division, you say that's impossible. I think they could. I think the Rams are still looking for their former selves. I think they could be a little better than the Rams going into next year.
Well, Seattle's going to be.
Gut feeling.
But, Skip, Seattle's going to, as long as they got Russell's going to be tough. Now, you believe the 49ers will take a step back because that Super Bowl loser's hangover. They got a first-round pick now. They don't have a second and third. They traded DeForest Buckner.
They did.
Got the 13th pick in the draft.
Yep.
I think they have 2 first-round picks now. So they might be willing to move one to try to get some more picks to reshore this team up. They'll be good. They'll be back. They're not going anywhere. But I don't get this. I don't get this for the Houston Texans, considering Fuller the fourth, the other receiver, Skip, he's good, but he can't stay healthy.
No, they think he's their new one. We'll see about that.
Huh?
That's what they say.
Okay.
Yep.
Good luck with that one.
Speaking of DeForest Buckner, I thought it was a great move by Indy to give up a 1 for him because their defense really struggled to stop the pass last year.
Yep.
I believe the stat is in back-to-back years they allowed 70% completions by opponents' passers.
Right.
It's never happened before in the history of this league, so they needed somebody to rush the
But Skip, they want to play cover 2. And if you don't have a guy that can just rush the passer, Tampa was known for the Tampa too.
They were.
But when you got Sapp and you got Simeon Rice putting pressure, relentless pressure, okay, you can play that coverage. But if you don't got hell raisers on your D line that can go get constant pressure on the quarterback, that eat you up in that coverage.
Okay, so you said from the start you thought the best fit for Tom Brady was Indianapolis. I couldn't argue with that. A lot of it made sense. It's still the house that Peyton built.
Right.
But, there are a lot of good pieces, especially the offensive line. It's probably the best in the league.
Absolutely.
So, Phillip Rivers is now the Tom Brady going to Indy.
Right.
How good will that make Indy?
Well, Skip, he's very familiar with the offensive coordinator. He's very familiar with that system. So the verbiage shouldn't be very hard for him. Solid offensive line. You look at the weapons that they got: Paris Campbell, T.Y. Hilton, Jack Doyle at the tight end. Skip, they have weapons offensively. The thing is and now that they have DeForest Buckner on the defensive side, Skip, they had a lot of money. And then not only did they sign, they trade for D-Buck, they made him the second highest paid D lineman in all of football behind Aaron Donald.
Okay, he deserves it.
And see, Skip, that's just imagine. Okay, Peyton. If Tom goes there, they sign Buck. Skip, like I said, Phillip Rivers, I'll take it. Tom, you don't want to go there, I'll go there. But like you said, if Tom wanted warm weather, Indy might be closer to New York than
it is a little closer
than Tampa.
Yeah, I've made that flight a few times.
But I think at the end of the day, Skip, this was a good move for Phillip. But he got to take care of the football. And I think now that he has an offensive line that can protect it because they're going to push the ball down the field, is that he just turned the ball over too much. And in this league, if your quarterback turns the ball over, Skip, you can't win long term. You just can't do it.
So my gut feeling on Phillip Rivers is I've never been sold on Phillip Rivers.
Okay.
I think the Colts will be better for Phillip than he will ultimately be for the Colts.
Right.
I think it's a great fit for him, even a better fit than what he had last year. And I thought that was a team on the verge and still is with the Chargers.
But you throw 20-plus interceptions and fumble like he does. There are so many times that they were winning ball games or getting on the cusp of blowing teams out, and he throws the opposing team back in the game.
He has routinely in his career made the play to lose the big game.
Correct.
While Brady has always made the routine play to win the big game. I say good luck with him. I can't condemn them because could he be a little better than Jacoby Brissett?
Yeah.
A little better,
Yeah,
but I'm still a fan of Jacoby's.
Right.
Not bad.
Skip, you're going to have a backup making $15 million?
They said they're going to try to keep both, but I don't see how you could squeeze that, but maybe they could. Yeah. Phillip is 38, and he feels like an older 38 than Brady's going on 43.
Correct.
He just feels older to me.
But here's the thing, though, Skip, is that it was a one-year deal for roughly $25 million. That's $25 million against the cap. Now, granted, they had $85 million in cap space.
They did.
You see, Cleveland. What Cleveland's doing is that they're signing all these players. I'm surprised that they keep Brissett on the roster at that number. That's starting quarterback's money, not franchise quarterback. That's a starting quarterback salary, Skip.
All I'll give you is that division is just begging to be won.
Yeah,
it is.
But you have to say Tennessee with D-Hop leaving. Tennessee's got to be the favorite now, Skip. Even though we don't believe, because Ryan Tannehill has yet to put back-to-back seasons together, and Tennessee was able to get him for a 6th-round pick from Miami for a reason.
He might be the new Ryan Tannehill, where you finally buy in and say, okay, we believe. He reverts.
Yeah,
Ryan Tannehill sort of rides the roller coaster.
That's what he's been. That's what he's been in his first part of his career.
All right, last topic. It looks like Cam Newton is gone from Carolina. Cam posted on Instagram saying that I'm just going to paraphrase it, he wanted to make it clear.
Y'all forced this on me.
Yeah, they made me. I'm not asking to go seek a trade.
Right.
You're telling me that I now have permission to go seek a trade, but it's on you. It's not on me. Right. I don't want this. You want this, right?
Skip, when have we ever seen a team on their official social media account said, we've granted Cam permission to seek a trade? Let that sink in for a second. Skip, that's not how it normally works. No. Now, maybe with David Tepper and Rule coming in there, maybe it's a changing of the guard. Maybe this is the way they're going to do business. Maybe they're new age, new wave. But I'm not surprised at the end of the day, Cam has been nicked a lot over the last couple of years.
He has.
They have no more money on his contract. They can get out from under this and with no financial penalty. Joe Brady, who was the offensive coordinator at LSU last year, who was at the Saints for a couple of years. It seems like Teddy Bridgewater, who was in that system, who understands the verbiage. But I'm not shocked. I am not shocked one bit that normally, Skip, when new ownership, new coaches come in, they want their guys. And that normally new owner comes in, they normally change the general manager and the head coach. Head coach normally wants to be attached at the hip with his guy.
Yep.
Cam isn't Matt Rule's guy.
He is not, and he's not the owner's guy.
Correct.
And in fairness to them, if you look at 2015 MVP season forward, his stats have just declined because his body has declined.
Yep.
Maybe he, quote unquote, died for their cause.
Yep.
Maybe he took so many hits trying to make so many plays, and he made a bunch of plays.
And trying to play through injury.
Yes, that he's just beat all to hell.
Right.
Maybe he can't quite get right. He's had shoulders, now he's had this foot ongoing. They're not sure about either one of them. Here's my 2 cents of advice for Cam Newton. Let it go on social. Let Carolina go. Rear view mirror.
Right.
Go onward and upward. Go somewhere and show them. Make them eat it.
He's better than Mr.
somewhere.
I'll take him in Chicago. He's better than Mr. Trubisky.
Well, do it, Chicago. I would agree. I buy. I'm with you.
But I mean, Skip, look. I mean, we didn't think Cam was going to be on the market. Jameis is on the market. There's still some good guys on the market that they took. I mean, Cam was the number 1 overall pick, a decade ago. Jameis slightly less than that.
Okay.
Former number 1 overall picks that are on the market.
Okay, but I kept telling you there was the big Brady domino, and it was going to fall somewhere, shockingly, to Tampa.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the Chargers are without a quarterback, right?
Right.
You go Cam?
A-Lin does like Tyrod. He had Tyrod in Buffalo.
He did.
The question is, and Tyrod is not going to turn the ball over, but he's not going to push the ball down the field and wow you with, a 350-yard passing day and 3 or 4 touchdowns. That's not what he is.
Yep.
He can get out of harm's way with his leg. He can make the plays, but do you believe Tyrod is the guy that can get you to where you ultimately need to be? Because, they're bringing A-Lin back. I love A-Lin. Played with him for a number of years, Skip. Know him very well. But he's got to win. You're going into a $3, $4, $5 billion stadium. You got to win. L.A. is about winning. If you don't win, they're not coming. They don't want to come anyway, Skip.
No.
But you better give them a reason. This is why L.A. is a Lakers town. Because the Lakers have won so much and the Clippers never won.
I think the Chargers have to be devastated tonight they didn't get Tom Brady.
I'm sure they are.
Because that would have sold them.
Yes.
That would have been a big deal.
It'll put butts in the seat.
It would have.
You moving into what, 70,000 seat arena?
Yep. More TV games, more national media.
Yes.
Brady versus Belichick from left coast to right coast.
I mean, how many national televised games now you think Tampa's going to get? Tampa's going to get a bunch of
here it comes. I
mean,
agree.
A team that was, what were they, 8-8 the previous year? We've never seen an 8-8 team on TV that much.
Right. And one reason the NFL allowed free agency to go through, because we thought it might get postponed, was they needed to figure out where all the dominoes were going to fall, especially the Brady domino.
Right.
Who's going to be on the TV games so they could get the schedule released on some time. Right.
This is going to be crazy. This is the craziest offseason. I mean, with the movement that we've seen and the money that's being paid out. In the NFL, everything else is shut down, but the NFL is operating as business as usual, Skip.
Yeah, I got it. This has been so hard on me. I don't know about you, but I'm an addicted sports watcher, and I'm going through detox. There's nothing to watch.
Nothing. No sports, no gym, no anything.
And I must admit, it has been a pleasure to debate with you for these past however long we went.
4 years, September 6th.
Yeah, that's right. We're up to 4 years, and just hope we have something to debate going forward. We'll see about that. But
we'll have something to debate. It just depends on how soon we're going to get back to debating it. We're going to have something because I believe the NBA is going to play. And unfortunately, fortunately, we're not going to get a vacation, bro.
We're having a forced one right now.
Right. The vacation that we thought we might get in July and August is going to be with NBA playoffs.
So that is it for tonight's Undisputed Free Agent Special. Thank my partner, Shannon Sharpe. Wait a second, I forgot to add up my tally. I went 12-0. 12-0! 12-0! So thank you for losing 12 straight debates to me. I also want to thank over to my left here, Jonathan and John and Daniela for making this possible. I want to thank my wife, Ernestine, and my little Maltese, Hazel, for staying all the way in the back room and letting us use their house, because it's not my house, really. It's their house in these perilous times. And I want to thank you for watching. Who knows? We might do another one of these, I don't know, tomorrow evening about the same time. We'll see how we feel.
You never know.
So, please stay safe and please stay home. Good night.